Hello, I'm here with another scrapbooking video. This time I'll be sharing tips on how to use leftover papers. I have mentioned in my previous videos that I actually keep all my leftover papers even though they're like this small, because I can either combine them with a bigger piece of paper to use as a background in one of my photos, or I can use them as tags or different things. And recently I did a page where I used some of my bluish papers to make sort of like a background collage with them. If I can just show it to you. So what I did here was use different kinds of papers to make a bigger border around my photo. And today I'll be using the same tip again for another layout. This time, I actually had some time the other day and did one of the pages of the spread, which is this one. So here I used mainly yellow and gray papers. It was a set that I had gotten from a stationery store around here. And today I'll be doing the second side of the page using these photos of my son, and as he's wearing a yellow jumpsuit, I figured the gray and yellow pages would look nice. So what I'm gonna do is pick out my papers. So I actually keep all the papers from like former projects that are cut up in a little envelope like this. And I pre-selected the yellow ones. So what I got here is these are from the same pack that I used in the other layout, the second side of the page. And these two are from different things that I have left over, but when I look at them all together, they actually fit quite nicely. So I'll be using these. Let's get to it.
First, I want to show you how I organize my photos in Photoshop. So what I do is I open a new document that's 10 centimeters by 15 centimeters, which is the regular size for a printout photo. And then I put one of the first photos that I want to be in a smaller size onto the side. And I make sure that it lines up and there are no white parts left. And then I rotate my other photo vertically as well, so that it's going to fit onto the empty side of this layout basically. And then I export it as a JPEG to be sent to the photo lab for printing. Okay, let's get back to the layout. As I have mentioned before, I already did half of this layout earlier, and now I'm just gonna do one side of it with the 4 small photos that I have of my son, and I'm gonna use the same paper, and I'm also gonna use a gray paper as backing, which is actually the same paper I use in the background, which is the A4. So I will be sticking my photos onto the gray first, and then I'll line up the yellow and gray papers to make a border around it. To be honest, I really like my first try with this technique, which is this blue one that you're seeing currently. So I want to share it as well while I'm sticking the photos onto the other project that I'm doing. The reason I really like this is because these papers are a color that I seem to love a lot recently, which is the teal blue. And all of them are from different packs that I had over the years that I hadn't used in a long while. And the one that I'm sticking right now is actually the same little papers that I recently got that I've been using, but didn't know how to use this blue with the black border, and this basically gave me a perfect opportunity. It also allowed this big photo to really pop out of the page as opposed to the others, so that's why I really like this. So now we're going back to the other yellow project, and I'm selecting the background papers that I'll be using for the frames of my images. This paper with the button design is also from the same pack that most of these other leftover papers are from. It's a pack called Back to Basics, and it has the buttons and the L's and the zigzag that you see on this layout here, and it also has different toy designs on the papers, and also elephants and giraffes. They're all the same color scheme basically, and every different design I have about 6 pages of each, so I can use them in multiple projects like this one. And I got these papers when my son was born because they were really a boyish and babyish design I really liked. But enough about the papers, let's get back to how I'm gonna try and organize this layout. As I mentioned before, I want to sort of make a border around the bottom 2 photos with these different yellow and gray papers. So what I'm now doing is trying to organize them in a way that it looks nice and the photos also look nice on top of it. So I'm basically layering up different designs, papers on top of each other to see how it's gonna work. Like, now I'm trying to figure out if a smaller, slimmer gray would look better with my layout, and I'm cutting different parts of the yellows to make sure that they look the way I want them to. And I'm also going to use this button design that I used as a background for the top photos so that it all lines up. So now let's see how my photos look. Okay. So as you can see, one part of the image is looking really nice, but on the other side I have an emptiness behind the photo, which I don't really like. So what I'm gonna do is add some of this paper here, and since it's gonna be behind the image, it's not gonna matter if it's really cut up and small pieces that I'm using, as long as I can stick them together nicely. And now I think I need, let's see, maybe I can add a little more of that zigzag to the top as well. Yeah, now it's gonna look better. So now what I need to do is basically stick this all together to make sure that they don't slide and move around when I'm adding my photos to it. So in a project like this, you actually need to tweak around a little bit to make sure that you get something that you like. And the blue layout was a lot easier because it was just one big photo on top of the layers of bluish papers. Whereas here I'm using 2 photos, and now I'm adding tape to the back of the first photo, as you can see. So I don't have to stick the yellows to each other and just, okay, now everything is stuck together. To make it more sturdy, I'm just gonna add some additional tape onto the back so that it doesn't slide when I'm actually sticking it onto the main page. And now comes the fun part of adding the sides, and I'm gonna turn it over to make sure that I'm sticking them properly. So as I said before, this takes a little bit of tweaking and making sure that it lines up and making sure that it looks the way I want it to. But as also mentioned, it doesn't matter if the pieces are too small, as most of them are just going to be behind the image and I won't be really seeing them from the top. So I'm not even checking, other than the zigzag, which you'll see now. For the bottom additions, I didn't even check to see if the design was matching because no one's gonna see that part. So I'm just gonna stick the top images as well to know that where everything will be lining up. Okay, and just one additional little zigzag page left, that corner. And this one I will make sure that it lines up because it's going to be on the top of my image, so that part will be visible. I actually didn't think I could talk this much about cutting papers basically, but you gotta do what you gotta do when you're scrapbooking. So I'm almost done, I promise you. This is just one additional piece that I need to stick, and let's see. Okay, now it's perfect. So now I'm just gonna add some tape behind the photo and stick it in place, and then I'll be cutting up the side, which as you can see there's some extra that's not gonna fit into the binder, so I'm just gonna cut it up from behind, and I'm just gonna make sure that I don't see these cuts from the front. Okay, and yeah. Okay, now we're ready to stick it on. I'm gonna do just one final little addition. I want to add some text to the corner here, and for that I'm gonna use another design from the same paper pack and just cut it up to make sure that it will fit, and on top I'll add the gray paper, so I'm just measuring it to make sure that I will have it in a fitting size basically. I'm using the gray on top because otherwise on top of the yellow my stamps wouldn't really show much. I started this project to get rid of my leftover papers, and I guess I just created more leftovers for myself because I also added some additional designs into the mix. But anyways, after some cleaning up, now I'm ready to get stamping. And if you've already watched some of my videos, you already know that I love this Say It With Stamps letter set, which is sort of like a cursive alphabet. And I'm just picking out the letters to say playtime. And I'm picking out the letters first because otherwise I end up spelling playtime I don't know, slaytime, something like that I would probably do. And it's not really fun after you stick it and then realize you made a mistake. So I'm picking up my letters first and then I'm stamping. And now that it's done, all that's left is to stick it onto my page right in the corner here. And oh, I got just a little space left there, and I'm using this owl paper, so why not use this owl stamp to add to there as well. And this is another set that I have, which I actually got from one of the magazines that I bought. So I'm using the same color stamp to add this cute little owl into the corner, and now I'm gonna add the wings, and then we'll be done, I guess. And now we're done, and it's already in the binder.
So I've completed my layout, and if I go over one more time the things I've used in this layout, I used, as usual, my A4 gray papers. For the backing papers, I used the leftover pieces I had from this Back to Basics set, which I still have more of. And to write the playtime, I used my Say It With Stamps set with my Memento inks, the Landen Fog Gray and the Dandelion Yellow. And I also used the owl from this Build an Owl stamp set. And as usual, my tapes and photo stickers. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye!